Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Friday. It's Daryl here. It is bright and freaking early, man. You know it. It's 3:30 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. I'll say it one more time. This is not the all Bam Margera all the time channel. It is not that. I'm going to talk about him again today. Like I said, what he's going through every single day is what I've exactly experienced in my life. And it's a chance for me to talk about recovery. Recovery is possible. That is my message. I have been clean and sober for 16 and a half years since October 23rd of 2006, and it has been the best. It was when I was 40 years old. I'm now 57. And it has been the best years of my life. The most rewarding, the most... the best with my family, the best relationships, financially, everything. The best years of my life. All right. Okay. Other news today, man. I got to mention this. Donald Trump indicted on federal charges. I'm just going to touch base on this. Of course, they showed of course, he had to go right out and make a video and talk about this. And they showed this clip, and he's under a light. I think he's actually in New Jersey right now. So he's indicted on federal charges having to do with espionage. Federal charge. These are Fed charges this time, having to do with espionage and those documents. And of course, he comes right out with a video. And I swear to God, I just started laughing so hard. Honestly, I don't get it. I don't see how anybody could still support this guy. I used to kind of fear him, and there's a lot of hate, and now it's just like I look at him, and it's just I can't. It's a joke. The man is a joke. So he puts out a video, and there's a painting behind him. It looks like a painting from the 1700s with people from the 1700s. And here's the thing: there's a light coming down. The lighting is terrible on his hair, and his hair is thinning. And he just you can see it, he's getting two bunches of hair here, and it's all thinned out on top. And then he's got this thick pile of long, cottony, thin hair just hanging down. And you can start to see the scalp all the way back. And, it's not just the way he looks. He's standing there, and they have this clip saying, "I am an innocent man. I am an innocent person." And it's a hoax again. And I honestly, I got a huge belly laugh out of this. I was like, you got to be kidding me. This guy, has never done anything wrong. He's a saint. In his mind, he is Saint Donald Trump. He has never done anything wrong. He knows he knows the most about everything and anything, and he has never done anything wrong. And everything against him is a hoax, a witch hunt. And he immediately started fundraising. And people are still giving millions to this guy, man. It is just insanity. When I saw him, and I just saw him say, "I'm an innocent person. I didn't do anything wrong." I got a huge belly laugh out of that this morning. The man looks like a joke. He does. He's a 70-year-old pathetic. If there was a time when he was kind of scary and, the whole thing with Make America Great Again, he's a caricature of his former self. Okay, enough about that. On to Bam Margera. The news just keeps coming out about this guy, not just on TMZ. Okay, last time we talked, he was in the 5150 hold. Now, here's the thing. When I told you guys, I was a danger to myself. And when I got put into a detox that was, they call it dual diagnosis. So the people I was in there with, it was like a 5150 hold, but there was also detox. There was people that just had mental issues, suicide, bipolar, and like that. And then there were people that were just drugs. And then there was a combination of the both, or dual diagnosis. And this was at a hospital. When he got out of, apparently, he started texting his ex immediately, some disturbing text, blaming her for all the problems in his life. And it's like this guy he obviously hasn't started to grasp the bigger picture here. of just, taking responsibility for your life and where you're at in your life. Your choices you made is the reason you are where you are right now. It's not your ex's fault or anybody else's fault. It's you made the choices, and you have to own up to it and own it. So anyway, there's some bizarre text. I'll have the link to that story down below. Okay, Lamar Odom. I remember this story. He was at a cat house in Nevada, and back in 2015, and he almost died from a cocaine overdose. Then I was looking up more stories on this, and apparently he owned up to it. It was well known that he was using this substance, and he was partying hard. And then there was a period after that. I think he was on Good Morning America or The View, and he claimed for a while that somebody did that to him. Again, somebody not taking responsibility for their actions. It can be possible. There's times when people around you, your supposed friends, make bad choices and do this, but I'm not buying it in this case. There was one time when I was in New Jersey. I was on vacation, and I was with two of my supposed friends, and they wanted to take LSD, and I didn't. I just wanted to enjoy the weekend drinking. This was 30, 40 years ago. And my buddies came up to me. They had a beer. They gave me the beer, and they said, "Hey, cheers, bottoms up." And I said, "Yeah," and I drank it. And they were just standing there smiling at me. And what's going on? They're like, "Well, have a nice trip." And they dosed me without me knowing. They put, I think it was like 3 hits of blood or acid in my beer. These were my friends. I ended up swinging on construction equipment. There was a crane on the boardwalk in New Jersey, and I was swinging at like 4 or 5 in the morning. I was swinging across this crane, the chain, and I remember my feet hitting the boardwalk, the wood boardwalk. I had bare feet, and you could just hear brrr, brrr, and my feet were just a mess the next day. We got in trouble for swimming naked in the pool at the hotel. Yeah, it was quite a trip. And it's not fun. This is something you just should never do to anybody. Give them things like this without their knowledge. It rarely works out well. Okay, let's get back to this now. So Lamar Odom. So he's just recently opened up 3 detoxes or rehab facilities. I explained to you guys in my past video the difference between there's a detox and then there's a rehab. You go into detox first if you've been drinking alcohol, been doing cocaine, especially heroin or opiates and alcohol. You need to be taken down. They used to give me Ativan because I drank too. Alcohol is one of the most dangerous things to detox off of. I'll talk about that more in a minute. One thing I actually saw, one of the scariest things I ever saw in detox, somebody detoxing from alcohol. They call it DTs, delirium tremens. One of the scariest things I ever saw. And they would give me methadone up to a point. And after I was there 3 times in 1 year, like I told you guys before, they would start to switch me over to another drug, like clonidine, I think it was. There's a difference. You go into the detox first, and that's usually 3 to 5 days, where they step you down off whatever you've been using until your body's basically clean. Then the work of rehab starts. That's when then you move into a rehab for 3 months, 6 months, a year, usually 60 to 90 days at least. The longer the better. That's what I found, honestly. These are not bad. Even the detox, the food was fantastic. I had my own room with a shower, with a desk and everything, a bed. I was up on the 9th floor. I had a beautiful view. Although I was in Hartford, Connecticut, and I could hear gunshots at night in the north end of Hartford. It was a beautiful, like I said, they had an art room, an art detox program, the music program, and the food was just, because they try to fatten you up. The food is incredible. So the picture they show here of Bam in detox is he's in a bed and he's all hooked up to monitors. And this is something I have never seen. I think this is kind of star treatment. I have never seen this in detox. Usually you go in, they give you a room and a bed. They take all your blood pressure. They take all they come and check on you like very often, every couple of hours, every hour. And but you're not hooked. I've never seen anybody hooked up to machines like Bam is in this picture. I honestly think this is just some kind of special star treatment, because I've been in detoxes over 13 times and I've never seen this. Okay, now moving on to the story. I realized I wanted to tell you guys this before and I forgot about it. I was in one of the detoxes. This is one of my first trips to detox. And there's always people that were alcoholics. Usually, I was younger at this point, back in my 30s, and usually there was older people that had been drinking most of their lives, and they would have a hard time coming off the alcohol. I remember this one time I heard screaming. During the day, I'm walking up and down the hallway, exercising, talking, making friends and stuff in the detox. And I heard somebody screaming, and I started walking down the hallway. And one of the new guys that came in was in a room, and he came running out to the door, right up to me. And there was a couple people, a couple hospital people in the room that grabbed him before he got to me. And he started screaming to me about the helicopters. We got to stop the helicopters. They're coming to kill us. They're invading the hospital. And this guy, the look on this guy's face was terrifying. And this guy was just, the look on his face, it was just of pure terror. The scream, his eyes, it scared me just looking at him. This was a hospital, and I hadn't seen, it did have a heliport. For, here in Connecticut, we have helicopters that bring people into the hospital. I forgot what they're called, Blue Angels, something like that. But there hadn't been I hadn't seen any helicopters that day, but this guy was terrified, and he was screaming about helicopters coming and soldiers and all this stuff. And they pulled him back in the room. So of course the other people, the rest of us in detox were looking, we'd keep walking by the room to see what was going on. And they got him down on the bed, and they had to use this thing called a 4-point confinement, 4-point detention, where they strapped his arms and his legs down to the bed, and he was screaming. His whole body was coming off the bed. At that point, they shut the door, but we could still hear this guy just screaming. These are delirium tremens. I think that's the way it's pronounced, where you basically lose your mind. Your brain is detoxing from the alcohol, and it can be deadly. Like I said, usually they would give me Ativan for that. Mine were nowhere. I just had a little bit of a shake. My problem was more with the heroin withdrawals. But the weird thing, not weird, but it was good. Not even a day, maybe 24 to 36 hours later, this guy joined us in our meetings in the morning. They introduced him, and he sat down with us, and it was a totally different person. And this guy was like, he owned his own business. He was all dressed. He was friendly. He was funny. The person I saw in the door screaming and losing his mind, and then the person I saw like 36 hours later, were just two completely different people. It gives me goosebumps right now talking about it. It's scary. It is, when you see somebody, what drugs and alcohol do to the human body, or when you stop taking them too, is terrifying. But the best thing I still remember is how, like I talk about getting my soul back. This guy, I don't believe he had his soul back yet, but he was back to who his real self, who he was. Like I say, now I'm Daryl. I'm the Daryl that I was supposed to be when I was first born, the first years of my life. I'm the person I was supposed to be. I have my soul back. Through all those years I was using, I was soulless. If there's other people watching this that have used drugs that have been in that position, I think you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And I mean that literally. I really do. I believe that. So I think, honestly, the hard work is just starting. This is just the first baby step for Bam. Detox isn't even a step, really. And once you get to rehab, it takes a long time. The first week, I remember the first couple weeks, first couple months even, I would cry at the drop of a hat, because you get all your emotions back. When I was using opiates and heroin, it would make me numb. And you discover how numb it made you once you get clean. I would watch a commercial about kids' clothes and I would start bawling. Or my temper, I would just flip out if somebody didn't give me a nickel back when they didn't give me the correct change. I'd start screaming. You have to learn to deal with your emotions and your memories and all the stuff you did. That's where the real work begins. Not even the first 3 or 6 months in rehab are just the beginning. The hardest point for me was the day I took the first step out of rehab into my own life and my own responsibility was the hardest time for me. All right, recovery is possible. Good luck to Bam Margera. I pray to God he really does this. I'm sure there's a good person, just like the people I dealt with in Detox. I'm sure the real Bam is in there somewhere, and I hope he succeeds. I do. Recovery is possible. Have a good Friday.